Rain hammered against the bus stop roof the first time Grace realized how painfully alone the world could make her feel. People chatted all around her, words she could not hear, laughter she would never catch, yet the silence was louder than the storm. And as she clutched her resume folder to her chest, knowing it had been her 5th job rejection that week, a single thought pulsed through her mind: maybe I'll never belong anywhere. Grace wasn't born deaf. A sudden illness at age 9 had taken her hearing, leaving her to rebuild her world from the ground up. She learned to sign. She learned to read lips. She learned to pretend she wasn't hurting. But the one thing she had never figured out was how to stop people from underestimating her. That afternoon, soaked and exhausted, she simply wanted to get home, except the storm made the bus route unpredictable. So she stood there, trembling slightly, too tired to hide her disappointment. That's when she felt it, a gentle tap on her shoulder. She turned and saw a man bending slightly so their eyes would meet. He held a small umbrella over both of them, shielding her from the rain. His face was kind, softened by stubble and a pair of warm brown eyes. In his other hand, a little girl clung to him, maybe 5 or 6 years old. Grace blinked in surprise as he slowly lifted his free hand, and signed, "Are you okay?" Her heart nearly stopped. Most people mumbled at her. Some exaggerated their lips. Others avoided talking entirely, uncomfortable with the communication barrier. But this stranger, he signed. And not clumsily, but with the smooth confidence of someone who had been doing it for years. Grace nodded, then signed back, "I'm fine. Just a long day." His smile grew. "I'm Luke," he signed. "And this is my daughter, Emily." Emily gave a shy wave before hugging her dad's leg again. Grace signed her name, and Luke's expression softened even further. "Pretty name," he mouthed. It had been a long time since someone looked at her, not with pity, not with annoyance, but with genuine warmth. Chapter 2, The Unexpected Invitation. The storm kept growing worse, and when the bus finally arrived, the three of them climbed in together. Grace sat near the window, still dazed, still feeling the echo of that small kindness. During the ride, Emily kept peeking over the seat at her. Grace gave her a tiny smile, which earned her a wide, gap-toothed grin. Luke chuckled quietly before signing to Grace, "She likes you already." Grace felt something she hadn't felt in weeks, maybe months. Something like lightness. When they all got off at the same stop, Luke hesitated, then signed, "Do you live nearby?" "It's still raining, let us walk you home." Grace would normally refuse. She didn't like being indebted to strangers. But something about Luke felt different. Safe. Gentle. So she nodded. They walked slowly through the puddle-filled streets. Emily skipped ahead, stomping in water, squealing in delight. Luke apologized with a sheepish smile. "She's energetic," he signed. "She's adorable," Grace replied. When they reached her gate, Grace turned to them, unsure how to express her gratitude. Luke beat her to it. "It was nice meeting you, Grace." She signed the same, hesitating only a moment before stepping toward her front door. But Emily suddenly dashed over and wrapped her small arms around Grace's waist. Grace froze, then slowly knelt and hugged her back. Luke's expression was indescribable. Grateful, touched, and something else she didn't dare name yet. Grace closed the door behind her and leaned against it, realizing her chest felt warm. Warm in a way she hadn't felt in years. Chapter 3, A Friendship That Blossomed. What began as chance encounters gradually became a pattern. Luke and Emily would often wave when they saw her in the neighborhood. Sometimes Emily would drag her father over just to show Grace her drawings. Luke would always sign to her, always with patience, always with a quiet respect that made Grace feel seen. One afternoon, Emily threw her arms up and said something Grace couldn't hear. Luke chuckled and signed, "She wants to invite you to her birthday party." Grace hesitated. Crowds made her anxious. Noise she couldn't hear made her feel even more isolated. Luke noticed instantly. Only a few people, he signed gently. You won't feel overwhelmed. She'd be happy if you came. And for reasons she couldn't fully explain, she whispered in her heart, say yes. So she did. The small party was warm and chaotic in the best way. Luke stayed by her side, making sure she never felt out of place. He interpreted conversations for her. He signed jokes that made her laugh. And occasionally, when their hands brushed, she felt a spark, subtle but impossible to ignore. Later that night, Luke walked her home again. The moonlight cast soft shadows across his face as he signed. Emily hasn't stopped talking about you. She says you're her favorite person. Grace smiled, touched. But Luke continued, his expression turning serious. I'm glad she met you. Anne. I'm glad I did too. Something in Grace's heart shifted. A door she had kept locked for years creaked open. Chapter 4, The Wound She Hid. Just as Grace began believing life was turning around, reality reminded her of its cruelty. She applied for a position at a small local bakery, one she had dreamed of since she was a teenager. She aced the pastry test. Her samples made the owner smile. She saw hope. But when the owner realized she was deaf, everything shifted. We'll call you, the woman said, lips tightening. They never did. Grace walked home devastated, the weight unbearable. She didn't tell Luke. She didn't want pity. And she certainly didn't want to be a burden. So she withdrew. She stopped waving at their window. She avoided the streets when she knew they were outside. She built her walls higher than ever. But Luke noticed. And he didn't stay silent. Chapter 5, The Words That Melted Her Heart. One evening, Grace found Luke at her doorstep, Emily asleep in his arms, her head on his shoulder. Grace opened the door, startled. Luke stepped forward, his eyes gentle but firm. Why are you avoiding us? He signed. Grace shook her head, signing quickly, you wouldn't understand. I'm tired. People treat me like I'm broken. Like I can't do anything. Luke set Emily down carefully on a small bench, covering her with his jacket. Then he stepped closer to Grace, lifting his hands. Grace. I raised Emily alone for 5 years. And do you know who taught me to stay strong? A deaf woman. Grace stared. My sister, he signed. She passed away. But she taught me that silence doesn't make someone weak. It just makes them brave in ways other people will never understand. His hands moved slowly, tenderly. You are not broken. You are not less. You're one of the strongest women I've met. Her eyes blurred with tears. Luke continued, and if anyone can't see your worth, that's their failure, not yours. Grace covered her face, sobbing silently. Luke gently touched her hands and signed something so soft, so sincere, her knees nearly buckled. Let me be in your world. However quiet it is. I want to learn it with you. Her heart, fragile, guarded, tired, finally opened. Grace stepped forward, wrapping her arms around him. And for the first time in a long time, she felt whole. Epilogue, a new beginning. 3 months later, Grace did land a job, at a cafe run by someone who valued her talent, not her hearing loss. Luke and Emily became her constant companions. Their worlds intertwined seamlessly, each learning from the other, each healing old wounds with new love. And one quiet sunset, as Emily twirled in the yard and the golden light wrapped around them, Luke reached for Grace's hand and signed the words that had become their promise. You're not alone anymore. Grace smiled, not the hesitant, guarded smile she used to wear. But a full, radiant one. The kind that said she finally believed it.